experts within Kono. So it was more of a support and very much needed and very much appreciated. Did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they didn't offer us legal advice or anything, but they did try to, and he was saying that we were organized and organization was kind of loose because we are voluntary, and are a voluntary HOA.
Well, I think sometimes when you're dealing with a very emotional process, it's nice to have that resource to
Sure.
go to.
Well, when they were representing us or helping us represent us in council meetings, talking about the development plans and getting the council voting on things, we were very angry in some meetings, and as you said, that they were calming. Jan was there, and I think you were. I can't remember.
Most of that was before my time.
Okay, yeah. So was Jan Doran, and they helped us quite a bit. We didn't get everything we wanted, but we got some. And the biggest thing was during the construction, Woodman Whiting in particular, in the overpass, getting help of getting traffic studies to show that we were having a lot of people cut through, and to try to do something about that, because they were really speeding through it at that time.
Well, I would like to add something. Kono has people who understand the process, who understand, they know the people downtown, they know how the process works, and they can help guide the neighborhood through.
Yes, good.
I mean, it's a foreign territory, and Kono has people who help
Thank you.
direct you.
They know,
Oh, yeah.
they know.
How did you get the traffic to not cut through as much?
Well,
Did you start putting bumps in and stuff like that?
Well, we tried to, but we don't have curbs or gutters and sidewalks.
That's true.
It's still rural.
Yeah, it
And
is.
you put in a speed bump or speed hump. I like the humps better than the bumps.
Right.
People tend to drive around it, at least
Ah.
one wheel around it.
Well,
And-
that's true.
Yeah, and then they slow down to go over it, then they speed up to get to the next one. So, and roundabouts, we looked at roundabouts. And again, we don't have curbs or gutters, so the roundabouts probably aren't gonna help either. Well, to answer your question, we hired, or, that's not the right word, we paid for a city police officer in a vehicle, off duty, and we paid gas and all the, we had two of them on either side, on east and west, or lower and upper Falcon. And we had them put it there for about 4 days, one period, and then 2 weeks later, another 4 days, and just having them sit there,
Right.
and it slowed it down. And then we would put up signs, patrolled by city police, and that slowed them down a little bit. The other one is the radar trailer.
Yeah, to tell them they're.
Yeah, just to tell them, and that, a lot of times people just don't realize that they're going fast, and it helps them remind that there are others. And we had one young man on Schreider going west from Union to Fort Academy. He was clocked at doing about 85 miles an hour, and barely made a turn there on Gracio to get out, but I don't know why he was going so fast.
If I can, Larry, it reminds me of two things. One, most neighborhood traffic studies that I've seen have shown that the biggest speeding problem comes from within the neighborhood.
Yes, yeah.
And then the other thing is your story about the guy going 85. I was in a car with Larry Small, and he was on city council as a vice mayor, and we were checking out the traffic because I told him we have a lot of speeding problem on Cascade, Nevada. And as we were coming south on Cascade, somebody passed him, and he tried to catch up with him and stopped at 85.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was a good object lesson
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah. You did, I think the overpass of Woodman is nice. I mean, it's taken me a while to kind of remember to get in the correct lane. I miss it, I think, oh my gosh, here I am going north on Academy, but I figured it out now.
Yeah, well, the hardest part, well, there's two hard parts. One is King Supers, you've got
Yeah,
three.
that's pretty tough.
That one coming into the, trying to get over to turn right.
Yeah.
The other one is coming off of Woodman onto northbound on Academy.
You end up in
And-
Sam's, whether you want to be there or
Well,
not.
if you come off and then, if you want to go to Mimi's, you better be in the right lane. And if you want to go straight on Academy, you better be in the left lane.
Right.
And that gets interesting. Yes, sir.
I've got a question. With, what do you see moving forward on neighborhoods that are butting up against the city, stuff that's being developed in the county? Any issues going forward that are gonna be similar to the one that you've dealt with in the past?
Yes, there will be, we will continue to have problems with high-density development going in close to less dense. You know, the idea is that, as an example, if you were, had a clean slate at Woodman and Academy, you'd say, okay, here's Academy Boulevard. We'll put gas stations, grocery stores, Hooters, whatever. But I didn't say that. You know, whatever, along Academy Boulevard. Then when you start, you would have denser apartments, townhomes, then you go into single unit houses, then you go into larger lots, and then you'd eventually get into Kansas. You'd have 5 acres. Yeah. But we don't have that. We have Academy, development's gone in here, there, whatever. So we're going to have, it's going to be very interesting how we resolve that, is having dense apartments, let's say apartments, going into an area that is surrounded by single unit homes or larger acres, and having to minimize, mitigate the impact to them. Part of the reason we want to do a little bit of the infill, and I say that in a general term, not the specific definition of infill, but already developed areas, new development. You know, because one, I think we need to make sure that our infrastructure, we can't take care of our infrastructure real right now. So let's don't build out toward Kansas. Let's build internally and use the infrastructure that we have now. One, we can eventually take care of it because we'll generate revenue from that development. And then, at some point, our mass transit will be able to be effective. You know, where you've got more people getting on a bus and not driving their cars downtown or wherever they're going. And I think it'll be a synergistic thing. We gotta work through it. Yes, ma'am.
If I could add to that, the housing needs assessment study that came out from the city and county last year said that we need to build more density in our city limits to meet the affordable housing needs
Yes.
of our community.
Low-income housing and such?
Well, not necessarily low income, but market rate apartments
Okay.
and condos, we don't have enough supply to meet the current demand.
And there are several developments going forward that are addressing that. And the density, again, would help the mass transit.
Yeah.
You know, whether you like buses or not, or mass transit, you know, it is something that's going to be coming, I think, in the future.
Especially as our community ages,
Yes,
we need
ma'am.
more public transportation to deal with their mobility challenges.
You know, my last duty assignment was Los Angeles, and I was there about 6 months, and we lived in San Pedro. That's the way they
Nice.
pronounce it there. Fort MacArthur. And then I had to drive up to El Segundo where the base was, and I'd drive 405, 105, whatever it was. And for the 2, 3, 4, 6 months that I was driving that to and from the office, I'd get home and I'd be tense. I'd get to work, I'd be tense, I'd be angry because I'd been delayed. There was, you know, a hassle on the LA traffic. And then they implemented a express bus that was between El Segundo and San Pedro, Fort Mac. And it went on local roads, not on the freeway, so I rode that for about 2.5, 3 years. And one, I wasn't tense. I got there in about 45 minutes routinely, where driving, it'd take me everything from 45 to 7 hours, I mean, depending on traffic. And I was relaxed, I read a lot of books, and the last day I rode the bus, people that I'd met on the bus and talked to had asked me what my last day was going to be, and I said, well, next Wednesday. So Wednesday, I get on the bus at Fort Mac, and I'm riding up to Fort Mac, from Fort Mac to El Segundo, and people that I'd met over the 2 years I've been riding the bus were getting on with plastic bags.
At a party.
And they had a going away party for me on the bus in Los Angeles. You know, I could not believe it. I mean, it was amazing. You know, but, you know, I really met some nice people on the bus. My experience was great. And I've ridden the bus here, but I can't get to where I need to get to on the routes that they have right now. So, you know, the bus driver was friendly, kind, courteous, loyal, trustworthy.
My husband and I travel quite a bit, and every time that we go to a city, all the viable cities that we travel to have a trolley system, they have a train system, and they have a ways for public to get around transportation without having a car. And I just see that we need to have that downtown. Sorry. Be it a trolley system or be it a, we're not ready for a train system yet, but to have a train from the airport to downtown would be good.
There has been some discussion of that.
And that would bring, and also
Maybe not
then
a
you have
train,
your
but-
downtown
yeah.
people living downtown, if they have transportation, look at Denver,
Yeah,
you know?
it's a bigger city with more money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you start with the trolley system, small trolley system, or a bus
A
system.
lot of other cities too, our size cities, wonder what they do.
To fund it, you mean, or to?
You have to even begin to go there, because that's so pricey.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I think it's really viable.
Problem
There's
is
a
that
couple
other
of cities
cities
that
our
actually have
size by
volunteer
population are much smaller by land
Oh,
area.
is that right?
Yeah, that's the problem, we're very spread out.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the point. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
trying to go from down,
Yeah.
say, City Hall to the furthest corner in District Two, around North Gate Road. That's quite a
That's a
distance.
long way,
And
yeah.
there's a lot of empty space in there too, that you're not gonna get a rider.
Yeah.
So, but
You
it's
can't
going
get
to
there
come.
from here.
Yeah.
You can't get there from here, Larry.
Well, yes, sir, that's the other thing, yeah, but there's a lot of space there too.
We gotta get a bicycle.
I'm taking longer,
Don't quote me on this, but I believe that Miami, Boston, and San Francisco would all fit within Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
geographically, right, yeah. Well, we're the 41st size city in the US
By population.
by population, yeah. And by geographical area, we're up there, I don't know, second, third, fourth, we're way up.
193 square miles.
Wow.
How many hectares is that?
Hectares is, it's a bunch, it's
Yeah.
probably
That's a bunch.
4,500 hectares.
That's a technical term, a bunch.
Bunch of hectares,
Charles should know, because he's one of those hectares.
yeah.
There's an L in me.
Wait, let me think about that a minute. Anything else on any of that? I was gonna just, yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to meet you because you are now my council.
Oh, that's scary. You expect me to do something, aren't you?
And you remember when Norma's Stop and Shop was pretty much the last business?
Yes,
And so do I.
yes.
And so I've seen all those changes you have seen.
Well, I remember when Dublin House was,
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
was a fine dining experience.
Oh,
With the windows on the west side,
Oh,
looking
yeah.
out over, take your date there,
Oh, yeah.
65.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to the Dublin House. And you'd sit there and you'd have a really nice meal and look out over the moon. You would come setting in the west, or, not coming up in the west, I know it, yeah. But setting in the west, but, Zider Z was
Yeah.
right outside the South Gate,
Yeah.
the restaurant.
Anyway, I'm pleased to hear that there's such a thing as a voluntary $25 a year homeowners association possible. I live in that area, I was here yesterday, and so everybody knows I'm concerned about the sidewalks along Dublin, since Dublin has become a major
We have it on
thoroughfare.
Union too, the same thing. We have
And-
people going to school, kids walking to
Oh,
Radford High School
yes,
on
yes.
dirt, on Union, but anyway.
Yeah, well, no, that's a good point, because I was just walking up that way today and particularly paying attention to sidewalks, and there was a young man trying to push a baby stroller, and the
that's
sidewalks are he was young and vigorous and having a hard time, and I'm thinking that child's gonna have shaken baby
Yeah.
syndrome. But anyway, Dave said that if I would get 5 people together, he'd come to tell us how we could organize and all, and so I am interested in that possibility. Where I am is actually, still has the potential to be a lovely 3 blocks where bounded by Ashcroft, Turret, and Wicklow East. And on the north side is Cottonwood Creek. So it could be so lovely.
Yeah.
And at one time, at the time that I moved there, it was mostly young professionals and Air Force officers and things like that. And some of my neighbors have been there even longer than I, so we're a very stable neighborhood. But when you talk of confronting the city about things, I'm not sure we have the level of political persuasion and education and things like that to take that on. So is there hope of having the city help us out with those sidewalks, all along Dublin?
I can't promise anything. And we're a budget constraint, but we can certainly look at it. And we can try to help you.
Well, I
But
think,
I can't promise.
I'm not sure, but at one time at least, I think it was the homeowner's responsibility. But now that it's such a major thoroughfare, the upkeep is just beyond the resources of people who live
Let
around there.
let me come out there and look at it.
Okay.
And see what we do. There is money for sidewalks. I don't know how much, but there is a pot of money for sidewalks, and we can certainly look at that.
And what do they do with that 4 feet between the sidewalk and the curb? It's basically a city easement so that they can widen the road someday. What's to become of that? Because that gets to be rather tacky looking too.
I don't know, I'll find out.
Okay.
Now, in some areas, it's city property, and the city has to maintain the weeds, cut the weeds, but I don't know about that